Good morning, Mr. Twala.
Good morning, Chief Justice.
You've been an attorney for 35 years, am I right?
30.
Is it 30?
30 years.
Oh, it shows that from 1983.
I was a candidate attorney in 1983 to 1986.
Oh, so you were not a member of the Law Society of the Northern Provinces from 1983 as reflected, because it says 1983 to date. All right. So is it from which year were you a member then? 86? Did you became an attorney from 86?
Yes.
And that's when you joined the Law Society. It couldn't have been earlier, or do candidate attorneys join?
I take it that I was a member since 1983 because I paid
The membership fees.
not membership, but the candidate attorney's registration fee as a candidate attorney.
Oh, I thought it was attorneys who are, it is attorneys who are members, but it's okay. Tell us about your practice as an attorney. How did it unfold? How did it prepare you for this position that you've applied for?
I was admitted in 1986 as an attorney. I've been an attorney for 30 years. In the 30 years of my practice, I've done criminal law, I've done foreclosure, I've done third party, and then I decided 8 years after being admitted as an attorney to do conveyancing. In 1994, I was admitted as a conveyancer.
It was very difficult those days to qualify as a conveyancer, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
How did you manage?
Well, I went to Werkmans. They were offering an afternoon an afternoon course in conveyancing. So I attended that course, and I attended the course with the Law Society of South Africa, and I wrote the exams, and I managed to pass.
After how many attempts?
Fortunately, after one, I passed on the second attempt.
Wow. Yes, proceed.
And then from there, I proceeded to do the notary public examination in 2009. That came by chance on me because at the time I was doing work for the National Empowerment Fund, and I was given work, notarial work, and I had to employ a notary to execute the work. But I was having problems with the notaries, so I decided to do the notary myself.
Used to be another difficult area. How was it challenging, or did you manage without as much struggle as many people have had to go through? It was much easier
since I was now busy with conveyancing. They are interrelated, so I managed to pass that one at the first attempt.
And did you get work in that line?
Yes, I did. I did get work, notarial work. As I said, I was doing work for the National Empowerment Fund, registering notarial bonds, and with the conveyancing work, I'm doing work for the banks, ABSA and Standard Bank, and I'm on the panel of the Gauteng Department of Human Settlement.
And appearances in court, how often have you been appearing in court over the years?
In the beginning, I used to appear a lot on the criminal matters and civil matters. And with the increase of work in my firm, I've employed more people, but they work strictly under my supervision. I do appear for pre-trials and unopposed motion court.
JP?
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Good morning, Mnyamande.
Morning, Mapisa.
Mine is just to help you tell the JSC what you've done as an acting judge. You say in your application you've acted for 53 weeks. My spreadsheet says it's 54. So I want to settle with my spreadsheet because I'm the one who gives you the work.
I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you. Now, you did 14 weeks in the unopposed motion court. Other candidates have stated that that's a difficult court to sit in. What's your view?
Yes, it is a difficult court in the sense that if you don't read your files before, you stand a chance of being taken for a ride by counsel. So it's best for you to read your files. I had an instance in the unopposed motion where counsel stood up and called the matter.
Just.
I had an instance in the unopposed motion court where counsel stood up and called the matter because when they call their matters, they call them by numbers, and said by agreement the matter should be removed from the roll. And I removed the matter from the roll. 30 minutes down the line, another counsel came and called the matter.
Same matter?
The same matter. And I said to him, I've already removed this matter from the roll by agreement. The counsel stood up and called the matter. He said, no, I'm the applicant here. I'm for the applicant. There's no opposition. Who called the matter? And I didn't know now which counsel called the matter. So I had to recall my decision and listen to his case at that time. So those are the problems that you have in the unopposed motion. Because of the volume of work, if you're not careful, you'll be taken for a ride.
Yeah. And I'm sure you'd agree with me that when you sit as a black judge in the unopposed court, it's a bit of a contradiction because the prevailing view is that we don't know what's happening in that court as blacks.
Well, you will experience that with some counsels. They think you don't know what you are doing, but yeah.
And a lot of them take chances. They come with empty brief covers.
Yes, that does happen.
Yeah. And they move for an order and you say, no, your papers are not in order, and they're surprised when you say that.
And immediately you will ask that the matter be removed from the roll.
But you are able to do that because you know what is entailed in that court and you've done your preparation.
That is correct.
Thank you. Now, you've also sat in the Asian court. Did you sit in the Pretoria one or is it just the Joburg one?
I've sat in both courts.
Right. I remember in the first interview you had here, we dealt with the matter that came in your Asian court that involved, is it 6 silks?
Yes.
How was your reaction to a matter like that when you are an acting judge in the Asian court? You have such high-level representation.
If you have read your matters, you know the issues in the matter. It doesn't matter who appears before you. As long as you know the matter, you can address the issues. With those counsels, I didn't know them. So I requested them when we went to court to say, please, when you stand up, give me your name so that I should know who's addressing me.
Yeah.
And they found it very difficult to accept that because they are silk, they thought everybody knows them.
But you ran your court and you made them toe the line.
Yes.
And you dealt with the matter.
I dealt with the matter.
And there have been no comebacks about how you dealt with the matter.
I've never had anything thereafter.
Now, I notice in your spreadsheet of judgments, there's one judgment you mentioned about that involved a constitutional law issue. That's the judgment in the MEC for Human Settlements and Local Government versus was Madula Moho Housing Association. Is that your judgment?
Yes.
Oh. You handed down the judgment within a month of hearing the matter, or just under a month. Is that correct?
The MEC for Human Settlement.
Yes.
Against yes.
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 And what were the issue there?
The issue here, Madula Moho had evicted people from their flats. Now, the MEC was not joined in the initial proceedings. So after the eviction order, the MEC came on urgent basis requesting to be given an opportunity to find accommodation or to see how many of those people will need accommodation after they've been evicted.
Then you wrote your judgment.
And then I wrote my judgment because the opposition was that the MEC is not party to these proceedings, to this action.
Yeah. I note that you've also written a judgment on customary law. That's, I think you said it's a consummation of a customary law marriage. The Madala Philemon Mkabi versus Minister of Home Affairs and others.
Yes.
Right. You wrote that judgment also within a month of having heard it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's the trend I've seen in all your lists, that you don't sit on your judgments. You hear them. Is there a work ethic, is a principle that you subscribe to in terms of handing down judgments?
JP, what I try to do with judgments, every day I hear the matter, when I go home, I summarize what happened in court on that day. I found that to be helping me quite a lot. When later on I sit down, I just struggle with the structure, but I have all the information the way I want it.
Yeah.
At times I can't sleep, and I know that I have a judgment outstanding. You know, my conscience doesn't allow me to just leave it there. I make time that I write that judgment.
Mr. Twala, you're a township boy, if you don't mind me saying that. You were born in Gauteng. You grew up under trying circumstances. You established yourself, you established a firm, you've acted as a judge, you've acquitted yourself very well. What message would be sent to other township boys when they see you?
Well, it will be a message of confidence in the judiciary and a message of confidence in education, that if you are educated, you can do certain things and achieve this far. It's if you're going to look at the guy next door who's running a spaza shop or who's running a shebeen and make him your role model, you'll go to this level. But if you go to school, study under those trying circumstances, you will achieve more.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, JP. MEC.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Someone Twala.
So what about?
Farming Township or Mpumetembi. Just on this issue of the human settlement, the case that JP was related to, I thought you said you declared your interest that you are on the database of attorneys of the Department of Human Settlement. Was this not a conflict of interest?
No, it was not a conflict of interest. The issue here was whether the MEC has a right to join the proceedings. And my decision was that the MEC has the right to join the proceedings because it derives its executive power from the Constitution to provide houses for people. My relationship with the Human Settlement Department is solely for transfer of RTP houses.
But you do work for them?
I do.
And here's a case in front of you that is coming from the department that you do work for. Regardless, that's the MEC is just the head, but administratively, you do work for the department, and therefore this was it can be perceived as a conflict of interest. I'm not saying it is. I'm just asking.
I did not see it that way.
I'm quite aware about, and I'm sorry if you feel it's personal, Gauteng, we have problems of people who drink and drive. And I know you have gone through some difficulties in your life on this matter. Do you think any matter that is related to drinking and driving, you will treat it fairly? You will not be conflicted?
I was convicted of driving under the influence. I think I paid my dues for that. And I stopped 26 years ago. I've learned a lot in the period. Presently, my firm is engaged with work from the RAF. I'm defending the RAF. I've seen what alcohol does in the accidents that occur. I don't think my conviction would affect me when I'm supposed to preside on a matter that involves alcohol.
What is a burial syndicate? Is it a syndicate of dead people?
And it's a syndicate of people to look after each other in case of death of members of one's family.
So you think that...
Masnwabani.
Oh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister.
Mr. Twala, you, as indicated earlier on, been involved in the area of human settlements. What is your take of the evolving jurisprudence around the protection of this specific area of the Bill of Rights, the right to housing? To paraphrase it, do you think we, in our jurisprudence, have made significant progress in promoting that right? Do you think we still have gaps? Where are we with South African law in relation to this area of the Constitution in particular?
Honorable Minister, I think the government is trying its best to provide housing in terms of the Constitution. The problems that we encounter as conveyancers, it's when the government allocate land or the municipalities allocate land and build the RTP houses on that land without any proclamation, then it becomes difficult to deliver title deeds to those people, because now we are sitting with a problem of proclamation and a coordination of the departments involved, the land affairs, the municipality, and all those departments, to issue those certificates so that you can open the township and deliver the transfers to the relevant beneficiaries.
Any other challenges that you have encountered that continue to bedevil the effort of promoting this constitutional right that you have encountered from a legal point of view specifically?
I think that is the only difficulty I've come across with regard to delivery of houses.
Now, let's take it out of government for a moment and talk of the private sector. and the role of financing institutions, foreclosures. Do you believe that from a consumer protection point of view, we have reached a stage where even those that, whether through their own means, are able to provide for themselves accommodation, and yet find themselves along the way having to lose their assets because of all manner of challenges in the system, the mainstream? Do you find the system adequately protecting of the right, especially of those that have already acquired by whichever means physical assets, especially amongst the middle to lower income groups?
I don't think so, Mr. Minister, because I think the banks don't want to come to the party. In my view, there's no reason for the bank to foreclose on a person who is in areas with 3 months. Even if this person is more than 3 months in areas, I think the banks can still accommodate this person by extending the period. I had a matter before me where this person bought the property in 2006 for 200 and odd thousand.
Is it a case?
It's a case, yes.
It's not finalized?
No, it's done.
Oh, it's done?
Finalized, yes. So, for the past 10 years, he has been paying a bond. But because of the interest variations, his repayments have increased. Now, he continued to pay the initial amount he was paying, whilst the difference keeps accumulating, and now the areas are such a figure that the bank decides to foreclose. And my view is that the bank should not foreclose in such a situation, because if this man cannot extend himself for the extra 300-400 rands, why can't the bank, because in the past 18 months, he has kept paying his installments, it didn't change. Why can't the bank then extend it to accommodate the difference?
Just to put things in context, I think me and you will agree that the courts have done quite a lot over the past 20 years in through the development of jurisprudence in this area to come to the avail of those who are vulnerable. Do you believe that as a judge, and given the experience in this field that you have, you would be able to take matters any further, or do you believe that where our jurisprudence is at now, there's nothing more that can be done to advance and protect this right?
I believe there is room for improvement. I believe there's room for improvement. As I said, if the banks can allow the extension of the contract, if a man has paid for 10 years out of 20, why can't they give him an extra 2 years to cover the difference?
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. I would be keen to interact beyond
Thank you, Minister.
bounds of this.
Thank you, Minister. Memampuru.
Good morning, Chief Justice, and thank you very much. Dumela Ntate Twala.
Dumela.
What is your take on racial and gender transformation? Because according to the report that we have, in the High Court, you have got 76 permanent judges, 39 are African, of which 27 are male and 12 are women. 3 are colors, 2 male and 1 female. 5 Indian, 3 male and 2 female. 29 white, 20 male and a female. Number 2, I understand you are more well in 5 languages, if I'm correct: English, Zulu, Sotho, Xhosa, and Afrikaans. How many so far have you tried to learn? Thank you.
I didn't get the last question.
In terms of language proficiency, I understand you can speak Zulu, Xhosa, Sesotho, Afrikaans, and English. Of these, how many more have you tried to speak? Like Venda, maybe? Shangaan, as an example. Thank you.
To be honest, I haven't tried to speak Venda, Shangaan, though I can hear here and there.
What might be the problem?
I can't say there's a problem. It's just that I was not exposed to it.
You don't have an interest in learning Venda or Shangaan?
I would love to speak Shangaan. My wife is Shangaan, but I can't speak it.
You have a problem. Then 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 you have a teacher in the house, but still you undermine that.
Maybe she's a bad teacher.
In that way, you are undermining her capacity as a teacher, because you say maybe she is a bad teacher.
I would say that because I've been married to her for 30 years, but she never bothered to teach me Shangaan.
You don't even bother. You're not even...
She didn't bother, not me. I'm interested in learning the language, but she's not helping me.
I'll take it further with you outside.
On a lighter note, Twala, I've heard one of the commissioners say you are exactly like Adam. You are blaming it all on Eve.
Commissioner, your first question was about gender and race. I don't have a problem with gender with our previously disadvantaged people coming on the bench. In fact, I would encourage that our sisters should come to the bench. I would request the JP to continue with the legal training for people who are on the sidebar to be judges, so that they can come to the bench.
I hear most of the candidates blame their GPs. Don't you have also a responsibility to identify potential in assisting to see to it that the JP carries out its mandate?
I do have that obligation to identify, but it ends there at identifying. Calling remains with the JP. But what I'm saying is, with regard to training, if the JP can make that available so that people can attend, be trained, and when they are invited to act, the sitting judges should open their doors to assist, because the landing for the first time on the bench is not an easy one. We need guidance on that.
Are you aware that there is such training available for the for aspirant judges and even judges who have just been newly appointed?
Yes, I do.
And that they are not keen to attend?
I don't know how they advertise it to invite people to come and attend.
Through the JP?
I suppose it's the JP.
Okay. All right. Okay. Commissioner Malema?
Thank you very much, CJ. What is your take of your performance in the last interview? Huh? There was something, man.
It was like a phone or something.
Yeah. Oh. In your previous interview, how do you rate yourself? You think you did well?
I think I did well, but yeah, what can I say? It was not easy. It was my first time to come to an interview. The last time I had an interview was when I was when I was doing my oral exam as an attorney. Otherwise, from there on, I never had any interviews. So it was my first interview, I don't know, after almost 8 years, when I was here the last time.
I'm asking because I want to check if you might have identified a weakness in the previous interview, and in between, perhaps you worked on that weakness and then come back to share with us that I think in the previous one I didn't do well here and there. I've since improved at that level, and that's why I came back for the second time.
Except that, as I said, I'm not used to the interviews, let me put it that way. My nerves got the better of me in the first interview.
Well, I think I still don't understand why we didn't appoint you in the first meeting, in the first interview. And I'll ask the JP, because this one next to me can't help me. Because you were supposed to be appointed in the first interview. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malema. You still have a chance to appoint me today.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Thank you, Chief Justice. In your questionnaire, you were asked to provide cases in which you have appeared, not more than 10, you regard as being the most significant and why. It's on page 7. You provided 5, but they all seem to indicate your involvement with the municipal council involved. In other words, if you look at A on page 7.
Just give me a chance to get there. Yes.
If you look at page 7, the Federation for Sustainable Development, on the next page, on page 8, you appeared for the Fort Sibonda District Municipality.
Yes.
B, you appeared for the Mogale City Local Municipality in the delegation of power to appoint a municipal manager.
Yes.
C, you appeared for the Mogale City Local Municipality. D, once again, and E, on behalf of the Dipalaseng Local Municipality.
Yes.
So all 5 cases of view that had an impact, some form of, as they would put it, as significant. Do you have are you known as the attorney appearing for local councils? Do you have a contract with SAGA to appear on behalf of councils? It just sits uneasy that all 5 cases you appear on behalf of the council, and those are the only which you prefer to cite as being of significance.
Well, what happens is this: my firm recently is doing a lot of work for municipalities. As you can see, it's not only one municipality, it's different municipalities. So that is how I got into these cases. I'm on the panel of the City of Johannesburg, I'm on the panel of Mogale City, I'm on the panel of the Western District Municipality, I'm on the panel of the Paliseng Municipality.
I understand. The reason why I'm asking you is, on the basis of your questionnaire, you've indicated that you have a wide-ranging field of experience. think from personal injury to divorce to marital issues, debt collections. But those are the only 5 you prefer to cite.
Well, I refer to these because, to me, they are cases of substance. Personal injury, my firm is doing about 8 matters a week in the High Court. And most of them, it's matters where when you get to court and then the parties settle. It's very few of personal injury matters that go on trial. It's very few of personal injury matters that go even up to the SC. Individual clients who are involved in litigation, very few of them go beyond the High Court because they can't afford. It's only these big clients we can go the whole distance.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Singh.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice, and good day, Mr. Twala.
Good day, Commissioner.
I remember the interview last year as well. And I think just to follow on Commissioner Malema, one of the things you were asked by the DCJ last year is and exactly on this day, 6th of October, is what wish list did you have for the judiciary? What would you like to see changed in the judiciary? And at that time, your answer was nothing. Have you reflected on this question, and can you provide us an answer today?
My answer was not nothing. My answer was I had not given it a thought at the time. Today, I think if I am appointed, I would like to see the legal training continuing. I would like to see that acting judges coming into, for the first time, have direct mentorship, not like what we had, so that they can have a soft landing. It's easy to say in an open place like this, you can come to me, my door is open. And when I walk into your door, I'm talking to somebody through a glass. But if that can be arranged, that you get a judge who's going to mentor you, take you through bit by bit. It's not easy to sit alone for the first time to start writing a judgment. You need somebody to guide you along those lines.
So that is the change you've thought about. And you're quite correct. Your answer to the question was, I haven't thought of any change. That was last year. But you seem to have applied your mind, and you've given us an answer now. We've received a letter from the Law Society of Northern Provinces dated 27 September 2016, which was about a week ago, with regard to your audit report, which was received but not approved. Can you tell us why it was not approved, and has there been any progress or any change in this last week on that score?
I'm surprised that you don't have the letter of the 28th, the following day.
No, we do not, because the Secretariat did not provide us with that letter. I'm reading from what I have before me,
Yes.
but you can give us the answer.
What happened? My auditor issued the certificate to the Law Society and mentioned that in December, the trust account was overdrawn by, I think, 346 rands. But it did not qualify the certificate. And the Law Society's problem was, if you say the trust account was overdrawn by 346 rands, why don't you qualify? And the response from the auditor was, I did not qualify the certificate because it was not Twala's issue, having put his hand in the till. It's the bank charges, which the bank debited the trust account instead of debiting the business account. Having given that information to the Law Society, then they issued a letter on the 28th saying that the Law Society hereby confirmed that the above applicant's audit report has now been received and approved.
Thank you for that information. Like I say, we didn't have that information before us, and I had to ask that question. Lastly, you disclosed that you are a member of a CC, Zibuse Transport.
Yes.
And you told us last year what you carry steel and things like that.
Yes.
And in response to a question, you said that, well, you will resign and you'll get your wife to take over. Well, your wife hasn't taught you Shangaan. Have you been teaching the ropes about this transport business since then?
Yes. Since October last year, she has been more involved in the business. I can sleep peacefully that she's doing a good job on the business.
Thank you, CJ.
I'm sure you'll familiarize yourself with the Judicial Code of Conduct before you finalize that arrangement, won't you? To check whether it permits or doesn't permit, if appointed.
Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah. Commissioner Nkosi Thomas.
Well, thank you, Chief Justice. My question has been raised and answered already. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Babato, thank you very much, sir. You're excused.
Thank you, CJ. Yabo.